guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to prep everything before you can install the new siding all around the exterior of the house. Please stay tuned and continue watching until the end so you won't miss out on any details of how you can do all of this. Right now we're working on this window in the second floor of this house. Most of this house is actually one level, but they have like this high peak in the middle, which is kind of like a little attic space. And we removed the two old windows, had to do a little bit of framing, and then now we finally have everything ready so we can install this new window. And in order to install the window, it's pretty easy and straightforward. Once you have the opening where it needs to be, all you do is put the window in place, and then around the frame it has all these holes that you just basically screw them into the frame of the house, and that way that will secure it. Over here in the existing windows that are going to stay, we're going to put this like aluminum flashing tape underneath. We actually removed, there was like an old trim there, we took that out and we're going to put a new one to match the same design. But before we put the new one, we're going to put that aluminum flashing tape underneath, and then right here we're going to put the new trim. This trim that we're using, it is I believe like 1 inch. I think it's 1 inch or 5/4, which the 5/4 is a true 1 inch. So actually I think it's the 5/4, and we're gonna be measuring the width of this existing window, cutting the board, and then right here we're just screwing it into its place so it will be nice and secure. And this is the new trim right here. It's specially rated, it's pre-primed for the exterior. And so that's what we're doing right now, is just putting that new trim underneath. Then up here, once we install the new window, we can go ahead and put in the HydroGap drainable house wrap. Over here on this other existing window, we're removing the trim that is just on the top. And then afterwards, we're going to be replacing the trim all the way around it. And then around outside of that, we're going to be putting the metal or the flashing tape. And after we do all of that, put the flashing tape around the window, then you can go ahead and install the house wrap. You can use the Tyvek. Usually like Lowe's or Home Depot, they have their own brand as well. Or you can go with this HydroGap. This one, it's super nice because it is drainable. It's a little bit more expensive than the other material, but it's highly recommended. And the way how they install it is you want to fasten it with some staples with caps. That's what we're using right here. So once we remove the trim that was on top of the existing frame, we take that out, and then we clean up the area. The new trim, we put some liquid nails behind it, and then we put it into place, and now we can go ahead and screw it, or basically finish nail it, and that way it will be nice and tight fit. Then at the very end, we'll do some more work to it as far as prepping, because as you can tell right here, they have like some of that old paint. We're gonna have to like smoothen that out a little bit, so whenever we go to paint the whole house and the trim, we have a nice finish. And so that's one thing which I'll show you that later, because we actually started this project on a Tuesday, and today is Friday. So our goal today is to get as much done and taken care of, so when we come back on Monday, we can go ahead and start finishing up the final details so we can get going and installing the new siding material. The new siding that's going to go on this house, it is the Hardie panel, which you see right there. That one is 5 1/4 inches wide by 12 feet long planks, and it's a cement board material. We're going to be installing all around this house. And the trim, the old trim that was around these windows, like on the outside, it had like double trim, one behind and one on top. The one that was behind, we're going to keep it because that one's still in good shape. We're mostly just taking out the one on the top and that is because if you can tell right here, it has like a little decorative design to it, and our client didn't want that anymore. He wanted to change it, have it more like square, look a little bit more modern. So that's what we're gonna take out just the trim around the sides and the top of the window and replace it with a like a square one. So right here we're starting to remove the old flashing. They had old flashing on top, the metal, you know, and we're gonna be installing all that new metal flashing. Right here we already took out the old decorative trim around the sides and the top, and we're installing the new trim to the same size, which is square. And then once we are ready to paint the house, we're gonna go ahead and go through each window and caulk around all of the new trim and everything, so we'll have a good seal in every place. But as you can tell, we're putting like flashing tape, we're putting metal flashing, we're doing everything that is recommended and required so we can get a good seal around all of the windows, and that way we can try to prevent leaks from going into the house. Especially here in the Pacific Northwest, we get quite a bit of rain around like October-ish. That's when the rain starts coming back, and so we have October, November, December, January. I mean, basically like more than half the year we get quite a bit of rain over here. So you definitely want to make sure to, you know, seal all the areas around the windows and doors, because we get a lot of calls, you know, from people that have gotten leaks, and most of the time it's through this area where the water seeps through and in to the house, and then it will make like more damages. So this is the living room area in the front of the house. We already removed the old trim that was on the sides and the top, and now we're putting in the new trim. This one, it measures like 2.5 inches wide. So that was the one that best matched the old one, because I believe the old one, it was like 2 inches wide. So they don't really make that anymore. The trim that they offer nowadays, it usually measures 2.5 inches wide and also 3.5 inches wide. So you know, which is fine. I mean, it's pretty close and it's almost the same. So we're going one window at a time. We just took care of this one on the left. That one's done. So now we can focus here on this entry door trim, and we just basically remove the old one, putting some liquid nails here in the area that's gonna go pressed in against the house. Once we have it there, we can go ahead and just with the finished nailer secure it into place, and then afterwards around next to that, we're gonna be putting the flashing and things on top and all that, and then at the end we're gonna put the house wrap so we can secure it with those staples and caps. And they actually have like 3 different options. Normally you can go with like a regular staple that doesn't have the caps. You know, that's the more common, typical one that most people, contractors, use. This other option, I mean, it's really great because they say like if you use this staple and cap system, it's like it's more resistant and more it just helps to seal up that area where the staple went in, and it's like more like wind resistant, and you can, I guess, like it can get hit by like 150 mile per hour winds, and this paper, it's gonna be a lot more secure to the house than just like a regular one. But they sell 3 different kind of staplers. The Stinger brand, you have the pneumatic, the one that's connected to the air compressor with the hose. They have that one that is pretty quick and efficient. So that one's like 200 and something, $250 for that one. And then they have these 2 other ones that are manual, that have it's like a stapler and cylinder that loads the caps, and it brings them at the same time when you staple it to the house. So I bought the one that is the air stapler. but I found that my workers, they didn't really like it. Actually, they didn't even use it or open it. They had like the manual ones, and they just ended up using those. So I mean, it's fine. You know, maybe if you do this type of work for a living, and you're always doing siding and this kind of work, then maybe the air one will be a lot better for you. But in our case, we don't do this type of work on a regular daily basis. It's mostly, you know, here and there jobs, because, you know, most of our work, we mostly specialize in small jobs, handyman projects, and we just do little jobs. So this type of work, I mean, it's not something we do every day or all the time, and so that's why, like, just with the hand ones is fine. But like I said, if you're doing this quite a bit, maybe the air one, the air hose stapler, will be way better. Then if you see there's like some white tape that we put on the seams of this HydroGap paper. That one they highly recommend, because this house wrap is drainable. You'll want to put that tape for the seams in all the areas. So in the horizontals, like you see right here, we put one in the bottom, one at the top. Wherever the seams are, you'll want to put that tape to cover up that seam. I believe the tape is like 1.5 inches wide, and they come in like 80-foot rolls. So for this house, it's not super big. I bought like 5 rolls of that. They're about $30 a piece, so it's not too bad. And so I bought 5 rolls of that tape, and that was more than enough for all the horizontal, vertical, all the seams around the house. And once you have that done, then you're ready to install the siding on top of that. Like I said, typically this paper or the tape for the seams is not really needed for the horizontal ones, because, you know, you always want to start with the bottom one first, the bottom house wrap, and then work your way up, because the one on the top overlaps the bottom one by about 6 inches. This paper actually has lines like guides, so it will tell us exactly like where it needs to be aligned, and it always, the top one always overlaps the bottom one by at least like 6 inches. So that way, any water, if there's any water that gets behind the siding or runs down the house, it can't like easily go behind the paper and damage the shiplap or the wood, the framing of the house. That's why they have it overlap at least like 6 inches. And so it's just an extra protection. But since this house wrap is drainable and you know, it's kind of breathable and things, it has like this little texture all around it, they highly recommend to put that tape in all the seams, vertical, horizontal. So it wasn't too bad. I mean, I got some extra pair of hands, and they were able to do that pretty quick. You just basically lay it out, like pull that tape along the seam, and then you have this roller that presses it, and so it just like it gives it a tight fit. But mostly on this side, we're almost done. We just got the trim around the windows to complete,